Hi, I'm Mike Pace and I work for Utah State University Extension Office, and I'm going to show you how to graft today with a grafting tool. This is what's called an Omega grafting tool. There's a couple of different models that are out on the market. This one is about a $75 piece. It has a couple of interchangeable blades on it. This one's a little bit cheaper. This will run you about $25 out on the internet. Both of them do basically the same thing. If you're looking at doing larger materials, say a 1/4 inch, 3/8 of an inch in diameter, this orange tool, grafting tool, will do a little bit better job. This one does a little bit better on the smaller diameter wood. And so I'm going to use this black one because of the materials that we're using. Now, when it comes to grafting, what we're going to try and do, what we'd like to do is, we have our piece of rootstock here, which is going to be what we're grafting our scion wood onto, or the fruiting cultivar onto. And what we'd like to do is try and match up the size diameter of the rootstock with the scion wood. And you can see as I bring it up a little bit towards the top here, my scion wood is a little bit bigger than the rootstock, and as I move down here, I can see that I want to be grafting somewhere down here closer to match up those sizes right here, okay? And so this is about where I want to do, so I just take and mark that with my hand. With this tool, what we're going to do is, it's just like a pair of pliers, and we put it in there. We try and make sure that the cutting blade is in the center of the material, and I will then just squeeze down on it, and you can see that just pops that, and it makes what is called an Omega grafting right there, cut. And you can see on this one that I did that I'm off center a little bit. If I want, I can start up a little bit higher on that and keep on doing it for practicing. I'll just come down a little bit low, and I want to make these cuts, if I can, right in between a couple of different nodes on there. And so I just push that in there, and again, now, and you can see that's a little bit more centered in there. I like to, when I make the cut, I like to make the cut with what I call the rabbit ears on the lower portion, on the rootstock side of things. And I'm going to make the opposite cut on my scion wood. And so I've got the cut made on the rootstock. Now let's grab a piece of scion wood, and we'll make the opposite cut. And so we'll put that in. It's important that you make the cuts equally the same, and so that's, if you're using the same tool, you're going to make those same cuts. Now what I like to do, it's just like a puzzle piece. Now we're going to take and slide those two pieces together. And what I tell people is, if you can take and line up at least half of this grafting cut from top to bottom, and if you can run your finger across it and you can't feel a ridge there, we've done a good job with that. And I'll just kind of show you. You can see as I rotate that, the fit is really good. What we're trying to line up is, if I pull that back apart, I'm trying to line up the cambium, and the cambium is just right underneath the bark layer right here. I'm trying to line that up on both the rootstock and the scion wood, and I only need a little piece of that to line up. But if I can get one side completely done there, I'll have a take on this graft. And so that's what it looks like. I test fit it together. Now what I'm going to do is, I'm actually going to pull that back apart, because I know I've got a good fit right there. On our scion wood, I want to leave no more than 3 buds. And so if I look, I go 1, 2, 3 buds there. I'm going to cut anything above that off, because I want this plant, when it starts to grow, I don't want it to focus a lot of energy on to putting out all those buds. And so I've left 3 of them on here. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to take and dip it in a little bit of water. We're going to try and keep that as moist as possible in there. And I'm just slide those back together. Again, sometimes you'll see that your tool makes a little bit different cut that's going to slide in there a little bit better for you. If I rub my finger across that, that's nice and flush right there on this side. Now we're ready to seal that graft union up. There's a couple of different things that you can use. This is actually what's called a grafting tape. And you can see it's kind of like a piece of elastic, a wide rubber band. What we're trying to do is secure this graft union, but we also want to seal it up. And so to do it with a grafting band, what we're going to do is start down below that graft union, and I just kind of pull it a little bit tight, and I'm going to roll that around that area, and that's going to seal it and secure that in place. And once I'm done, I'm just going to take and pull that up and through. And grafting bands, you can get those through any of the different places online. I can give you a couple of resources at the end of this video that you can get those. And so with that grafting band, that's what it would look like when it's complete. Now, if you don't have grafting bands, there's a couple of other products that you can use. One of them is this paraffin tape, and it kind of looks like a big, small thing of saran wrap that you can use. But what it is, that as you pull that, you can see that it stretches, and that will stretch around that and keep that tight. It'll also seal it in. And so I'm just going to pop this off and kind of show you what this would look like if we do it with the paraffin tape. I'm going to start with a new piece here. Hasn't been expanded, and so I'm going to take and go down below that, start that, get it caught. Again, I kind of pull that as I wrap. That's going to secure that area in there. And then as I pull it, you see that it pops off there. And now I've got a good seal with that. Now, if you don't have either one of those products, another thing that you can use is just some black electrical tape. Okay, so if you're going to be using the black electrical tape to secure your graft union there, what I like to do is I will take a piece and I will cut it in half so that I've got half the diameter or half the width of that a normal size piece of tape, and I will kind of put that on first to secure that area. And so just like we did with the other ones, we're going to kind of start a little bit down below that. I kind of pull it tight, I wrap, get that secured, and then what I'll do is come back with a full width piece of electrical tape and kind of, again, start down below that. I kind of pull it tight, I wrap, and I want that to kind of go up above and down below those unions so that it's nice and tight and secured. And okay, so we've got this graft union sealed and wrapped right now. Now what we want to do is seal the top part of it, because where we've made that cut, we don't want any of that moisture and nutrients to continue to wick up there and out the end of it and dry this piece off that we've just grafted onto there. There's a couple of different things that we can use. This is one of the products that I use. It's called Doc Farwell Seal. It's when you actually open it up, it's a nice yellow. And so what you're going to do is just dab it on. You can see that we don't need a lot on that top. All we're trying to do is just seal it. Now, if you don't have this type of a product, you can just get some candle wax and heat that up and dip it in there. Elmer's glue, any type of product like that that will seal that top portion up and keep it from moving out. So now that we're at this point, what we're going to do is we're going to take our tree that we've just done here, and we're going to put it in a baggie and put it in a baggie with some moist material. This is just some soil pep. It can be peat moss. It can be anything that's going to help keep our roots moist while this graft union heals. And so I've got a little bit in the bag right now. I'm going to take and put a little bit more in the bag to cover up the top part of the roots. We're not going to grow it in here, but we're just going to leave it in here for about the next 10 to 14 days. And so I'm just covering those roots up with some more moist peat moss soil in here. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take and seal that up. And I'm going to take and leave it in this bag with this inside. We want to keep it indoors where it's going to be 60 to 70 degree temperatures, and we're going to leave it for about the next 10 to 14 days. After that, what those temperatures, those are conducive temperatures for the healing of this graft union right here. Then we can take and put the materials out. We can put them in a pot like typical pots that you'll buy at a nursery. You can actually take it out, put it into a nurse type bed in your garden area. And what you're going to want to do is the first buds that are going to break is going to be the buds that are down here on the rootstock. And as they start to break and start to grow, we want to come in and remove those off of the rootstock side of that, because we want this plant to force all of its energy into heating this graft union and then forcing these buds up here on the new portion that we've added to this fruit tree. Over about the next 2 months, what you'll see is that these buds up here that on this scion wood that we've grafted on will start to grow, and over time, if you're using the budding band or the grafting band or some of this paraffin tape, that will automatically fall off. If you've wrapped it with the black electrical tape, you're going to want to come in and just with a razor knife or an X-Acto knife, make a slit on a couple of sides of that, and then don't peel it off. Just make the slits through it so that it will naturally come off, because otherwise if we leave that material on there, it will actually girdle that area and kill that new graft that we've just put onto our rootstock. If you're going to put it in a black pot, my advice would be is that you can grow it during the summertime and into the fall. It's a little more difficult to keep it in here. I wouldn't try and overwinter it in the pot. I would put it in the ground come wintertime, because most of the time what will happen is that freeze-thaw action on the roots, you'll have a lot of root damage to that new tree, and then possibly kill your tree that you've worked on all summer long in having a success with. You're not seeing that graft did not take, and it's what we call a failure. One of the examples is that, for example, if you're trying to graft apples, you're going to want to graft apples onto an apple rootstock. If you're grafting pears, you're going to want to graft it onto a pear rootstock. And so if you're trying to graft an apple onto a pear rootstock, that is not going to take, and you're going to have a failure there. Some other things that might happen is that when you go to graft, you want to make sure that the buds on your scion wood are pointed up. I've had people that I've taught that have come in here and placed them upside down, and obviously that is going to cause a failure there. This this graft union for that first year is going to be very fragile, and so you're going to want to make sure and protect that and make sure that it's not getting bumped or anything like that, because that could dislodge that. Those are kind of the typical things that could cause that graft union not to take and be a failure.